So at the moment right now, in my little home, I have a pretty small home. It's a sweet home, but it's about 900 square feet or a little bit smaller. And right now we have a very full house. So my partner Ryan is here, and he's here with his wonderful son. And my daughter is here, and we're all kind of jammed in. So it's like a combination of 4 people in a teeny house with jet lag and voracious adolescence and perimenopause and everything all kind of swirling together. But including all of those things is also a tremendous amount of joy. And that is definitely something I'll be talking about today with you all. So when I prepare for my talks, I often will tune into what the Nitya, or the moon goddess is of the day. And so in the Vedic sciences, in Jyotish, there is a Nitya, or moon goddess, that is connected to each particular phase of the moon. And I like to use it as a practice of just tuning into different ideas, different Shaktis that we all can tune into and experience. And so the Nitya for today is Kameshwari, and her Shakti is grantor of desire and feminine boons. And so basically a boon is a blessing, or it's an answer given to a request. And so she grants us, if we tune into her Shakti, she grants us our desire. And so for today's talk, I thought it would be supportive to talk about recognizing our inner desire, our deepest heart-centered desire, as guidance for our spiritual growth. And another thing that happened this morning was I was able to fully enjoy a poem that my daughter wrote for her grandmother. It's my mother's birthday tomorrow. And so very spontaneously, my daughter wrote a poem. So I'm just going to share it with you. She wrote, "You thrive like a daisy in the sun. You have looked after all your children and grandchildren for so long. You have lived 74 amazing years. Congratulations." And for me, my daughter's 10, by the way, and my mother's 74, and I'm somewhere in between. But for me, when I witness children expressing themselves creatively, it helps me to tune into a certain feeling in my heart center. And this feeling, maybe you've experienced it yourself, being around children or other joyful people. It can help you tune into your own sense of heart joy. And this is something that is cultivated within, right? It's not something that we can seek externally. We can see examples of it in the external environment, but it's really something that we cultivate within. And so just to talk a little bit about desire, a desire is a strong feeling of wanting to have something or to have something happen. And we all have our own desires, of course. But then when we combine that with what heart is, in the Vedic sciences, our heart space is the seat of our consciousness. It's the source of pure awareness, or a focal point for that. And so in spiritual practice, what I've been working with personally in my meditation is I spent a lot of time focusing on this upward kind of energy, but lately I've been actually tuning more into my heart center and finding that to be an extremely helpful, supportive way to cultivate my spiritual practice. When we can tune into that heart-centered awareness, that's where we can be guided in our life to make decisions or to not make decisions, right? To to be active or to not be active, to cultivate our powers of discernment, and to also accept grace when spontaneous life events happen based on that true heart desire that we have. And so again, like I said before, our heart, or our heart space, is the seat of our consciousness. And so in meditation practice today, we will tune into that together. And that's something that you can also cultivate for yourselves in daily living. So I invite you to contemplate, oh, have there been moments in my life where I could really experience that inner sense of joy? Kriya minister Ron Lindon would often say to remember to be joyful. It's something that we always have, and we have to remember that we have that within ourselves. There's so many experiences that we have in our lives, or challenges that we come across, that can kind of tip us into forgetting that joy that's there. So it's really our own opportunity. We have the ability and opportunity to cultivate and to tune into that sense of joy. So creativity is one way, accessing our creativity, or being inspired by the creativity of others. That's one way. Another story that I have is with my daughter. We spend a lot of time together, of course. She's 10. So we finally discovered that she actually needed glasses. She's relatively nearsighted. So I would say about maybe 3 to 5 feet in a distance is when things start to become blurry for her. And so she talked to me about not being able to see the board at school, for example. I think she was viewing the moon with her dad one day, and she said it was fuzzy. So long story short, she got glasses a few days ago. And one thing that has been extremely joyful is to be able to experience her being able to see. And I never knew that she had difficulty seeing before. So she would tell me things that she could see now. She's like, I can see every blade of grass. I can see every leaf on the tree. I can see the little raindrops on the car window. And she was so in wonderment about that, because it was a new experience. And it's kind of like that for us too. There are things that we may not be able to see for a time, and then through our Kriya practices, through cultivating good habits, through living our life very consciously, we can begin to see what was always there. So that was another joyful moment for me, to actually witness her being able to see more. So the past several days, she's told me different things that she can now see and how she sees them now. So that's been really fun. So just to talk a little bit more about cultivating our heart's desire, I've talked about a few things that we can do to cultivate that. But one thing that I find to be really helpful is to be mindful of what we digest through our senses. So I've talked about this before in the past, but I find it to be so practical and helpful. If we are conscious of what we're taking in through our sense of sight, and this includes how much we view via screens or watching the news and that kind of thing, we have to be very mindful of what we take in through our senses. Because if we overindulge our senses, nourishing ourselves with foods that aren't supportive, for example, we've all been there. But if we overindulge, it can cloud our perceptions and even cloud our connection to our heart center, right? It creates a dullness, a cloudiness. And so one very practical way to cultivate and become attuned to our heart's desire is to be mindful of what we're taking in through our senses. So, you can ask yourself, do you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is look at the news, for example? That's going to perhaps shift your whole perception of your day. And so I ask you maybe to reconsider, if you have a habit of doing that, to reconsider that. If you're noticing, like happened to me recently, you become really attached to eating a lot of sweets. over time, that's going to create an imbalance and a sluggishness in the mind, right? So, I invite you to kind of take a moment to ponder, okay, are there ways that I can nourish myself in a more balanced way? What is it that I'm taking in through my sense of hearing? What kind of conversations, what sounds are around me? Am I able to attune to the sounds of nature versus loud arguments, for example? All of these things can have an effect, so we might as well choose wisely, because that's something that we can empower ourselves with, is to make very conscious choices. And then another way to cultivate that being attached, or not attached, being connected to that heart-centeredness, that heart's desire, is of course with our Kriya practices. Our Kriya practices have a way of purifying our awareness. It allows us to directly perceive, to know, and to become self-realized. So just continuing with our Kriya practices, bringing the prana up the Sushumna, the central channel, holding Om at the higher brain centers, and having a regular practice of this also helps to purify our senses. It can bring us back to that simplified, clear, perceptive state. So it's really, really helpful. There's a documentary that came out, I think it was quite a while ago, maybe 20 years ago or so, called Happiness. I don't know if anyone's ever seen that or not. And it went through different statistics of what levels of prosperity and that kind of thing will create a certain level of happiness for people. And that was very interesting. But there was one part of the film that I found particularly interesting. They had filmed this young family, and they were living in a very, 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 very meager surroundings. So they did not have a lot of wealth. But the young man, who I think they had like maybe 2 kids or so as well, the young man exuded and imbibed that sense of inner joy so strongly that even though they lived under very humble means, they had maybe like a 2-room hut kind of thing, and they just didn't have a lot of material things. He cultivated such a strong sense of inner joy that it emanated out towards his children and his wife, and you could see the joy that was there, and it was emanating and cultivated from within. Now, of course, in the 4 attainments of life, kama, which is enjoyment of the senses in a balanced way, you could see that was there. You could also see that, in a sense, he was like doing his work with a lot of joy as well. It was some kind of manual labor. I can't remember what it was, but he had a lot of sense of purpose and joy combined. So we all have the opportunity to do that. But that struck me, how much inner joy that he had, regardless of his more meager surroundings. So he wasn't seeking outward for that joy. He was actually able to increase joy just by his beingness. I found that really helpful in my own process and path. There's another process, or process maybe isn't the right word, but there's another state that occurs. I've talked about this too in a past talk. When a woman is pregnant, and after about the 2nd or 3rd month of pregnancy, there's a state that occurs called Dahrida, which is a bicardiac state where the seat of consciousness, or the heart center of the fetus, and the heart-centeredness of the birth mother are connected and become one. So they're not separate. And in the Vedic sciences, there's this understanding of microcosm and macrocosm being of the same, containing the same principles. And so with that understanding that the fetus and the mother share an awareness, they're not separate. That's the same for us all together. We have that awareness within us that's not separate. And so I've definitely found in the past few weeks, as recently as the past few weeks, really attuning myself to that heart-centered space in my meditations to be very, very supportive. And it's allowed me to reach the more deeper states of meditation. And so today, I think it'll be really wonderful for us to practice together. It's such a great opportunity. I've noticed a lot of people each week coming here faithfully, and I really appreciate that. I feel like just the building up of our community together as Kriya yogis has been very supportive for myself, and I hope it has been for you as well. So what I'd like to do now is just do the chant of Kameshwari for us as we start to prepare for meditation. So I'll chant the Kameshwari chant, and after I do the chant, what I'd like for us all to do, and you can do this at your own pace, is we'll chant 3 ohms. And so you're welcome to ohm with me at the same tempo and speed, but you're also welcome to ohm at your own pace and just allow for the ebbs and flows, kind of like waves of ohm happening. And so you'll hear my ohm and you'll hear your own ohm, and just know everyone else is ohming as well. So there'll be many of us ohming at the same time. So let's just take a comfortable seat. With your spine straight. And you can close your eyes. And just tune into your breath. Inhaling and exhaling, inhaling through your nose. Exhaling through your mouth. Allowing your neck and shoulders to relax and soften. And taking a moment to recognize any areas of tension in your body and allowing them to soften. I'm Hrim Shrim Om Hrim Kameshwariye Namaha. Shri Padukam Pujayami Tarpayami Namaha. I'm Hrim Shrim Om Hrim Kameshwariye Namaha. Shri Padukam Pujayami Tarpayami Namaha. I'm Hrim Shrim Om Hrim Kameshwariye Namaha. Shri Padukam Pujayami Tarpayami Namaha. And to begin with 3 ohms, inhaling deeply. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om, peace, peace, peace. let us acknowledge our lineage along with all enlightenment traditions. Maha Avatar Babaji, Swami Sri Yukteswar, Lahiri Mahashaya, Paramahansa Yogananda, Mr. Roy Eugene Davis, and all of their successors as we sit in meditation together today. All gently holding your gaze at the point just above your eyebrows, at the center of your forehead. I invite you to also tune into your heart center. If you're experiencing a lot of movement in the mind, or if you feel yourself pulled under by heaviness or sleepiness, stay with the practice and just return to bringing your awareness to your heart center. There is a bija or seed mantra that is connected to the heart. Yum. Allow yourself to attune to the bija sound, yum. Yum, 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 yum. And continue tuning in to your heart awareness. Yum, 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 yum. Yum, 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 yum. If you have a Kriya meditation practice, take a few minutes to bring that in. And if you don't, continue attuning yourself to Yum, the heart center. And we'll close meditation today with 3 ohms. Inhaling deeply. And from this place of heart-centered awareness, allow yourself to move through life graciously, with grace, accepting grace, tuning into your heart's deepest desire, feeling that sense of calm, clarity. Om. Thank you everyone for joining. Hope to see you next week. Thank you.